This is Mark Mason, owner and editor-in-chief of the Comics Waiting Room, and I am back with a new video review. This week I have 4 graphic novels from the folks up at Oni Press. Let's get started, shall we? First up is Wet Moon Volume 5 by Ross Campbell. This is actually the first volume of Wet Moon that I've read, but I can tell you it won't be the last. It's a fascinating little book. It's sort of a slice of life, a little bit of soap opera amongst a group of young women at a southern art college in a place called Wet Moon. It's about their lives, their loves, sex, friendship, a lot of drama, a lot of humor. I like the characters a lot, but what I really love is Ross Campbell's art. Campbell is one of the more unique artists working in comics today. His characters definitely have a look that separate them from anybody else's. They're all young women. They all have varying body types. They have varying facial types. They're easy to tell apart. They're realistic in many ways that other comic book characters, especially women, aren't. And it's just good, solid, strong cartooning. Loved it. I'm on board for more. Highly recommended. Next up, Wasteland, Volume 4, Dog Tribe. Wasteland, to me, by Anthony Johnston and Christopher Mitten. Wasteland is, to me, maybe, as it goes on, the best post-apocalyptic comic book ever made. Johnston's Apocalypse and Mitten's Apocalypse is not one of fire and brimstone. It was called The Big Wet, clearly involving massive flooding, and what's left is strident desert plains across which humanity has begun to regather itself, and this takes place 100 years later. This volume, fascinating, deals with some of the tribal aspects that have come about after the Big Wet. This one dealing with the Dog Tribe, not the Dog Tribe, a couple of dog tribes, and coming together. They're bands of nomads, and they come together to intermarry to sort of keep the peace. It's very Shakespearean in its own way. It's a beautiful book. The characters are fascinating. The culture that's thought out here is really amazing. I just love everything about Wasteland every time I read it, and I highly, highly recommend it. Next up, Stephen Colbert's Tech Jansen, the hardcover collection of the 5-issue miniseries, co-written by my friend John Lehman and his buddy Tom Pyre, and then Jim Massey, and it's got art from guys like Robbie Rodriguez and Scott Chandler. Cover by John Cassaday. Just really a terrific package here in the hardcover. To be honest, though, I always thought in reading the issues that the story was not as strong as it could have been, and I still feel that way. There's an interesting parody element to it that mirrors Colbert's sort of self-effacing sense of humor on the Colbert Report, but it doesn't necessarily come across well in the comic. That said, it is an outstanding package, and there is some humor to be found here and some terrific art by some very good writers. It just sort of felt like maybe the licensor was a little heavy-handed in telling them what they could and could not do, because it just doesn't work as well as it should with all that talent involved. And finally, the debut graphic novel of Renee Lott, Festering Romance. Janet is a quiet college student who's very withdrawn, and part of that is because she has a roommate who's a ghost. And as if that wasn't odd enough, she meets a guy named Derek, and as it turns out, so does Derek. And it's a romance between these two, trying to get them to act together and figure out what they want from each other, and if they can be together because of the oddities of their supernatural situation. I liked it a lot. It's a strong debut. Renee's very talented, and I would recommend it to those who really like relationship comedy. Thank you for joining me. I'm Mark Mason, and I will see you next time in the Comics Waiting Room.